All right. Welcome everyone to our monthly Global Chamber AI series. It's going to be less of us talking today and quickly passing the mic over to our special guests. Today is as I wrote a post about this earlier about the two main reasons why attend, two words, Paul Pray. Paul is an exceptional AI and ML solutions architect who has crafted groundbreaking solutions at Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Booz Allen Hamilton, and more. His deep experience spans health, tech, life sciences, finance, and cloud solutions, and he actively contributes to open source AI and decentralized Web 3.0 applications. Today, we're highlighting his work with Avahi, and so not only are we going to have the work highlighted, but Jeff from Avahi is also going to share a really amazing opportunity near the end of the episode about how you can start to work with Avahi potentially on building AI agents and other AI services in your company. And so some things that we hope that you take away: clear insights into AI agents, expert guidance to maximizing the power of Amazon Bedrock for your organization, real world case studies, and as we're seeing right now, live engagement with Paul. Um, I'm Jacob Dietz, founder of Climo Collective, also very active in the mental health space, and which is a hot topic itself in AI. And so I want to pass the mic over quickly to Yuka to be able to introduce herself to the group, and then we'll start to kick things off.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jacob and Paul and Jeff. My name is Yuka Nakasune. I'm the executive director of the Global Chamber in Spain. We have, for the moment, Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Malaga as chapters. And we are driving the Global Chamber from Europe. Um, and I am a tech. Let's say, lover. So that's the reason why I'm involved in this AI series for about a year and a half right now. And thank you very much, Jacob, for organizing this. And I'm very looking forward to seeing what you do, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm showing it, some of what I do for a living right now. And so you're actually watching one of the core tasks I do as a human worker, but I'm here collaborating with my AI. And so I'm a solutions architect at Avahi. And so I gather lots of requirements and do deep dives with customers to understand their pain points, business problems, how they may want to leverage AI. Um, and so I execute a lot of meetings, and what I do during those meetings is one, we got all these AI agents doing transcripts and things, right? So I take just my meeting notes from my meetings and I just pipe them into my AI agent. And so all I have to do on my customer calls is ask really good questions,
Mhm.
and then I copy the transcripts into a text file and pump them into this big old prompt, and it automatically extracts all the requirements. And then I pump it into another prompt, which fills out a statement of work template.
Mm.
Mhm. So it's a good description of too my work and what I do.
Mm.
Paul, question for you. Can you kind of maybe briefly explain to us really what an AI agent is?
Yeah,
We've heard of AI, artificial intelligence, but can you help us understand what an AI agent is specifically?
yeah. And this is, if anybody is confused by all these terminologies, the world hasn't figured out how to talk about all this stuff so well yet. So there are a lot of synonyms and things out there. But for agents, the main difference between things like co-pilots or assistants is that they have a lot more autonomy to them. And unlike an assistant or a co-pilot, um, the agents have capabilities where, one, most importantly, besides the autonomous nature, they can interact with other agents or other people on my behalf. And so that's that idea. If we look at outside the AI world, all these other kinds of agents, like human travel agents and things, they go and do work for you. You interact with them, but they have specialties and skills and do specific work for you. And the travels agent can call the hotels and call, the airlines to book flights. And that's the idea of that agent. It has agency to go do work for you.
And
You can see,
something exciting about that is sort of in line with a lot of the discussions we've had in this series is like, this is a way to really enhance your human experience, whether that's professionally or personally. Um, Being able to take some of that load off of your shoulders to be able to either go deeper into the work or be able to expand, look out, look for partnerships. But that's something I'm really excited about in this discussion is yeah, how this really enhances the human experience, and it's a partnership with these AI agents to yeah make life and work a little easier.
yep, exactly. And this process you're seeing now, I developed these prompts and these templates for my statements of work and things. This workflow just in the last several weeks. Um, and it very literally, sometimes in these conversations, I'm a seller. In some of these conversations, I say things, and some of my sellers say things that just sound so salesy. But like being for real, this workflow you're watching cut my time down from 8 hours to 30 minutes for creating
Yeah.
statements of work. So what is that? 16x, 16x productivity improvement sounds you know, like almost it could be just salesy BS, but it's just so real. So part of, the talk today, I want to just ex make sure people, know this is coming, this is real, and a lot of these agents are going to do some really insane stuff for people. I now have a hard time even doing some work when I know an AI agent would just do it so much better and faster. I'll take
Mhm.
entire days, days off, literally days, and my leadership knows this. But I'll take days off to build an AI agent, but then it literally will save me, um, magnitudes more days throughout the rest of the year.
And
And so, yeah,
for,
and okay,
for
go ahead.
example, this solution that you built,
Hmm.
the statement of work is
Generated.
automated from the conversation with the client. You have the requirements, then the AI is going to generate the statement of work to send it to the client, right? I mean, prospect or client.
Yep.
Um, how much do you review this? I mean, you thoroughly review and
Mhm.
correct?
Heavily. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm,
in this case, we're architecting a software system as part of every one of my projects. AI is
mm-hmm,
still just software, and software has to work in very specific ways.
mm-hmm,
So I definitely bring my architecture knowledge every time to vet the tech stack. I add in new services. I recommend it as an expert. First, in these prompts, I have my expert knowledge baked into the prompts and
mm-hmm,
how I interact with it. And then, of course, this is also a legal document, right?
mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah. And so, I take that very seriously, and
Mm-hmm,
as we all should in our jobs. And so, for me, yeah, I typically will read these things maybe 3 times all the way through. Uh,
mm-hmm.
but I'm really fast at
Okay.
editing, and it's
Mm-hmm,
getting that first draft done in like a perfect
mm-hmm.
template is just so good.
And for the moment, this is for your tool, for yourself, or somebody else is using it or
This is
commercializing it.
Yeah, this is for me right now, but actually next week I'm going to form a team to start putting this in production uh, to one, like um, assist all my colleagues.
Mm,
I'm gonna see if it's going to figure it. I couldn't find my template, but I know it's in the knowledge base. So
yeah,
So,
that's okay.
Paul, let me just tell you where I'm at. I've
yeah.
used AI quite a bit, actually.
Mhm.
Statement of work is usually for government organizations in terms of
Oh.
proposals. Um, so
Mhm.
for like the FAA, I had to write up a whole proposal. For the city in
Mm,
southern New Mexico, I had to write a whole proposal. So AI did the whole thing, like you said. Or for another city government where I live. Uh, as long as I put all the parameters in,
Mhm.
it came out with it. And then, like you said, review it 3 times. So I assume that's what you're meaning
Mhm.
here, but you're taking it somewhere else. You're creating some kind of templates, right? That you want.
Yep. Yeah, and so in a moment, I'll show you how this was built, and I'm now
Mhm.
done. It's now done with its work, and so now I'll show more about what an agent, what this agent is, why it's an agent, and then where it gets its data from.
Right.
But so I
Well,
just generated a statement of work in I guess 16 minutes, and I was chatting a little distracted there too.
I'll tell you, Paul, you're the king of multitasking. The fact you're presenting while you're building the background. That's impressive.
Oh,
That is
thank you.
impressive.
Yeah, and it was a little difficult there for a second. Just trying to chat sometimes, but yeah, this stuff's also so familiar to me. So I don't know where all those stars came from, but they added some nice little ASCII art.
Huh.
Um,
And this is the one you just built on Chamber of Commerce?
yeah, yeah, and
Oh, that's funny.
and it's all based on a fake conversation. The first thing I did was I wrote it's all started with a 3 sentence prompt saying, write me a script of a conversation between an Avahi AI architect and the global chamber. And I listed some of the challenges in that one agent that you guys mentioned. So, I mean, you can still see though, right? There's some odd things in here. Like, I don't know what this symbol is, but it added some icons for some reason.
Mhm.
And so,
That takes some creative
yeah,
thoughts there, huh?
right. But, again, it just generated stuff. It wasn't me, Paul Prey, a deep expert, interviewing you all and asking all the right questions. So
Mhm.
normally I run through like a spreadsheet of really specific requirements analysis questions. And that's really, when we talk about an AI a lot, the importance of the quality of data.
Mhm.
In this case, the root of the quality of that statement of work I just produced is dependent on the meeting transcription, because that's the
Mhm.
primary input data.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and so I need to ask super good questions.
Mhm.
And even when I'm talking with clients, I'll repeat things back, say them more clearly, because I know the AI is listening. On
Mhm.
these
Mhm.
calls with like Fathom and Otter AI and all that we're you guys might be getting swamped with on calls too.
And Paul, if I could take a second kind of to digress back a little bit, what you
Yeah,
said is very important with AI in the sense that it having the right information in, having the data. Typically, when we have conversations around AI with our clients, it always circles back to the data, making sure we have clean data. So making sure that the data is right to be sure that the results become right, if that makes
yeah,
any sense. So the data is always the underlying question, making sure it's accurate and up to date and clean,
100%. And then there's could be post processing, and you guys saw me do well. Actually, we didn't do too much editing of the final result when we talked through it a little bit. That's certainly a big part of it. And what you watched me do a lot of was I was copying prompts in from I just had a plain text file, essentially of prompts I'd copy in, and I think it was just two prompts and the meeting data as an input plus the SOW template as an input.
Mhm.
Um, and so those are all the assets I needed to do my work with the agent. And I prototype in those kind of chat tools, like in an OpenAI chat GBT, Mistral's LeChats, same kind of thing. Just based out of France, has a lot more. I like their compliance and regulations around ethics. An
Mhm.
example.
Well,
So
also, you're using, what is it? You're using a particular AI agent, right?
yeah,
Trail or something like that.
yep. And yeah, actually, that's a really good thing. So um, I'll mention. Well, I'll actually show you how I created that agent in Mistral in a moment. And
Mhm.
then,
Okay.
yep. And I want to mention that the next step when I'm building agents, I prototype in those chat tools. And in the first prototypes, lots of copy and pasting and uploading documents. But what I'm in
Mm.
the progress of, and when I say I'm going to take this thing to production next week and put a team around it, I prototype it in Amazon Bedrock too, which that's more of a drag and drop. Well, it has some drag and drop capabilities for creating workflows And so instead of me copying and pasting things, I can set up triggers to pull in the transcriptions that were stored in an S3 bucket, a storage bucket. Um, and the agents on the calls can just put the notes in there. And so my agent can pick the notes up, detect the customer, gather the requirements, and then pass those requirements automatically to the next agent, which then generates the statement of work. And then the plan is to put automatically, it will send the statement of work to our peer review channel where all our architects are on,
Mhm.
and we have processes already for reviewing statements of work. And so all I have to do again, ask good questions, and then I want when that meeting ends, this process kicks off. Um, and I mean, it would probably be minutes. They would show up in the Slack channel for my peers and I to review. And
And
that's the
so
That's
production agent I want to build.
And so, Paul, so for a lot of us, sort of new folks in the tech world, I'm more of a aficionado myself.
Mhm.
Um, I would love to. I saw that you had something up about really like an introduction to AI agents, and
Mhm.
if there's a way like really to break down like what I know you sort of touched base on what they are, but like what they are, what value they can bring, the diversity of value,
Yeah,
and really clear up maybe any misconceptions about AI agents in general.
I love that. Yeah, and I'll that sounds like a wonderful outline. So I'll just show this off here real quick and we'll wrap up the Mistral stuff. So in general, when people talk about an agent, this is another thing that makes it less abstract and more concrete. The most simple way to create an agent, a lot of these tools like Mistral or OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, you can create an
hmm,
agent, which is like a custom version of the chat, and you basically give it a job role. I've even started literally doing that sometimes where I'll copy like my job description from LinkedIn and I'll put that as the instructions for the agent. And then it's called the system prompt. And that is the definition of the agent. And then anything you chat with it should be just tasks you're acting that agent to do. And this is what's amazing. Like you're building this custom software application that has a whole personality and capabilities. Kind of by biasing the agent and the foundation model with this system prompt, it pulls in all the expert knowledge around being a sales engineer and solutions architecture agent. And just out of the box, you have awesome interactions you can do. So I did want to also show that's the most simple way. We'll talk about these multi-agent workflows and stuff, but just that system prompt is really powerful and that qualifies as an agent. you know. And as we've seen, what I can do eventually, I could technically pump in several meeting notes at once to several agents, and that's where the power becomes. So it not only saves me, so now I'm 8 times faster, but now I can, or 16 times faster, but now I can also do that times, many meetings at once or multiple solutions architects can be using that agent at once. So it becomes, whatever 16 times 4, 16 times several people because we have a lot of sales engineering folks. And
If I
that
could
turns
just
the
quickly,
business
Paul, just
impact.
say this, Paul, is that what Paul's building for our team is
Mhm.
going to save us incredible amount of time. Because right now,
Mhm.
doing things the old way where our engineers are having to handwrite the statements of work, if we have a way to get them 80, 90% there and they just have to review, and it's again 16x return on their time,
Mhm.
that's going to free us up to have more engagements, to talk to more customers, right? Where
Yeah.
today we're tied up building this house where if we have an agent helping us, it's going to help our company immensely. That's all I can say.
Yep. And any kind of content that's structured, like highly structured, like legal documents and code, and even tech stacks, those are really good to generate because they have a lot of good data that's already has lots of strong correlations that are like logically sound. So
hmm,
yeah, you saw my workflow and you saw one of the agents, and I just want to visualize a little bit what's happening behind the scenes with all these agents. You kind of have your human layer, you have the conversational interface, and then you
hmm.
have the large language model. and then kind of all the context. So like what I didn't show off, and it really is just a list of documents. There's a knowledge base behind that agent. And it's a whole bunch, I collected all the best statements of work all my peers wrote. So I literally went human by human and said, give me your best SOWs that you reference when you're writing yours. I got them from all my architects, and that's the kind of knowledge base behind this. That's part of the environment.
And then it also that system holds all the information like in its memory, right? So you can keep coming back to it, and
Yeah. Yeah, like
that.
sometimes I'll sit there in one thread about a customer, like I didn't have enough of the requirements, for example, one time. And so actually I have my document of requirements questions, and then I had the meeting notes, and I said, which questions did I not ask?
Mm.
Create me a list of questions I do need to ask to get the necessary requirements. And I was just doing, I was trying to do my regular workflow, but it didn't work. And so I still kept that same context though and used it to
Right.
tell me what it didn't know.
That's amazing. I can now see, Paul, why my car can drive me from city to city on its own.
Yeah.
It's
Holy moly.
doing all this.
And I do look forward to, us 10xing road safety from that.
Yeah, that's right.
So here's a framing. So now we'll get into some more of the other business use cases. And there's an irony in the one that I shared with you that the things AI is best at right now is writing software, and which means also writing and creating itself, which is gonna compound in lots of different ways. But when I visualize all the different use cases of AI and all the tooling that's out there right now, I kind of have a stack of where there's the most tooling and use cases. And the first stack's engineering, software engineering, data engineering. Then the next layer where there's the most activity, sales, essentially.
Hmm.
Something I thought about when building products and things, we do solutions accelerators at Avahi and eventually might be doing some managed AI as a service agents.
Mhm.
I've always thought about how sales is the easiest thing to sell, like selling leads or handing over a customer that's ready to pay someone else money. And so just naturally, sales and marketing tools are just really robust. But we're getting there. We're handling more complex things like supply chain optimization now. And I go really deep in healthcare and life science, and that world is absolutely absurd. I'll just say this really quick. Uh, it's a big idea, but we're going to the point where we can generate life forms. So we understand viable like genomes and things that can get created. And now the agents can do things like generate the genome for a new plant or a new food. And then we also have new systems now in just biomanufacturing where we can take genetic code and use it to literally manufacture life. Right now
Wow.
we're doing it with bacteria and things. Um, but we're all thinking about AI being embodied in robots. That's going to be a thing, but we're also starting to program nature itself. Certainly
Hmm.
amazing wonders and life-saving things there. And you can invent your fears as well. Um,
I've seen some of these images and videos online that I can't tell what's real anymore.
yeah, no, that's so serious.
Yeah.
I got two little girls growing up, in this world. I think about that. Um, yeah, and maybe we get a these probably exist, but even an agent that can help you figure out what's real that you've built
Oh,
yourself,
oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Brilliant, brilliant.
Have it sniff out the artificial things we're
Yeah,
seeing.
and then it'll have a check next to it, like, X, it's
Yeah,
real.
and make it, that think I toggled on the think capabilities of Mistral, and there's deep research from OpenAI, those kind of tools. Yeah, I'd be having it just do deep research and cite these facts and videos and see, if they're,
That's
uh,
really great.
I don't know what peer reviewed would be in journalism, more in research, but like make sure multiple trusted sources are reporting on it.
God.
So yeah, and good. We're going through, this is part of the talk talking about example use cases. So these are great. We're inventing some on the fly here. So here's one, finance. I love finance in general too. I've gotten more of an affinity to it the last few years, maybe since I finally have a 401k worth managing. But finance is another one, another really good domain, just in general with, numbers and math. Uh, there's a lot more structure to that kind of data. So it's really good for generative AI. And this is just showing, just like I broke up my workflow as a solutions architect, here it's for relationship managers at a bank. And so we might go one at a time and do things like, okay, I got to go like collect data on the web or in my databases. Maybe I'm advanced and I run SQL queries, or maybe, yeah, just doing research on the internet and grabbing documents. Maybe we need to hit up people internally to find access to data that we needed. Then we can finally do our analysis, play with the data explorer, try to find some correlations or patterns for our problem, and then maybe score that whatever rating or rubric for determining we did a good job with that analysis. But now it takes time. These complex tasks, and I'm talking about putting into mine into production, and that will take some AI engineers to kind of connect all these things together, or just me putting in a lot of time. So I don't want to trivialize this first row and the second. It's not like, yay, we can just do it now out of the box. Especially we're doing with raw numbers and we're forecasting to make strategic decisions about our business. We need to be careful about how we construct our workflow and prompts and integrate with our data sources. But all of that, all of those steps end to end, and we can put humans in the loop here, but can be fully automated. Like, yeah, collecting data. I mean, literally, you can have agents just scraping stuff all over the internet and whatever thing you want. I have
Hey,
someone doing that just for grocery
hey,
shopping.
Paul, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What is the use case? The title, I'm missing part of it's kind of grayed out. It says retail bank uses the agents to
Oh, is this?
reinvent the
Oh,
process
is
of
this?
trading.
I mean, that's a big deal
It's kind
because.
of it's blocked out.
Oh, my my AI agent might have been hovering above it or
Yes,
something.
yeah, exactly. That's what it was. It was
All right. Yeah. So we're in. Oh, by the
hovering
way,
over it, and it was blocking out what it was.
I have so many AI agents just up right now. I'll just call some out. So we're in Notion, by the way. Notion AI was actually one of the first most robust AI agents that came out right around when ChatGPT launched. And so yeah, there's this bubble. It's
Thank you.
yeah, it keeps popping up. So I'll try to watch that. But this is the
Okay.
thing. I mean, agents both supercharge me, but they also annoy me all day. I have Grammarly's also running and watching all my text, and it kept doing all these pop-ups earlier and like editing my page when I didn't want it, so I had to like shut it off.
Yeah, I have that problem too.
It's just new challenges, like, but they're almost like they're trying to be helpful, but it's annoying. And I forget that just for our full time for pacing here, when do we want to stop for like Q&A or the things you want to talk about, Jeff?
I figured we could check in like around in maybe 10 to 12 minutes, you know,
Great.
close to 10 minutes before we close, if that's okay.
Mhm.
Yep. That sounds good. And so I think we've kind of talked about these kind of ideas, and even this data from McKinsey here for reducing time. Um, that these are easy numbers to hit in certain use cases, and it totally depends what we're talking about. The things like working with genomes and then certain financial data tasks where you need lots of human in the loop. Maybe these numbers, um, you will see numbers more like this. But the stuff that maybe even you want to look for is the stuff that we can, 10x or more. And I think you'd be surprised once you start building some of these, how much of those are exist. All right, so I'm gonna jump around just a little bit to some of my most favorite parts of this. And this, I basically built a website for this talk, and I'll be able to share the link as well as an export of it after, so you can go deeper. A really important concept I want to get across today, and this is why you would want to use Amazon Bedrock and those more advanced tools than just a chat agent, is multi-agent orchestration. I heard someone talk. Was there a question or comment?
I don't think so. And by the way, Amazon Bedrock is the AI tool that we use when we work with our clients. When it's time to build something, we're going to build on AWS Bedrock because we are an AWS partner.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's what I do when it's complex workflows that need lots of data integrations. We go to Bedrock, which means pretty much anything Avahi builds is on there. Um, let you all prototype and use your agents for just chatting. So multi-agents. And so this is really where agents become powerful. So if you imagine that one agent I built, 16x'd my work, what I have planned for other agents there that I haven't built yet, another really time-consuming task is drawing architectural diagrams, which is also a very hard thing to do, like drawing a diagram like you're looking at here, actually. And then also doing automated cost analysis and level of effort to know like how much staff I need to put on the project for how long. And so, essentially what I have forming is a requirements analysis agent, a statement of work generation agent, a solution architecture, tech stack and diagram generation agent, and a level of effort and cost estimation agent. And the last two I haven't worked, well, I worked on the diagram one a little bit. Very hard problem. But now, and eventually is what happens as this is sort of how projects tend to flow. You build a single agent, then you start building multiple agents and maybe doing a lot of copy and pasting. But when you put it into production, you work with a company like Avahi or specialize in Gen AI, that's when we can start doing these more serious orchestrations where I would then kind of go back to having a generic solutions architecture agent as the lead agent, and then it would call its team of agents to get work done. And so based on my conversation, it would know, oh, Paul's generating a statement of work, so I'll call agent B. And it does this kind of routing and classification for us. But did want to pause there just because that is a important thing, and we'll talk about how this impacts your org charts, and that'll be another big idea I want to make sure I get across today.
And that's sort of something that, sort of perfect serendipitous that you mentioned that. But I was just like looking up, and I'll post this article. But around challenges in like middle leadership, there's a lot of, I think, issues in mid management. And I see that having tools like this could really help to enhance that sort of in between space. Because that's with employees to productivity, that's heard through the grapevine, that's a major issue.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting. I have taken my steps into middle management the last few years, and it has been a whole different kind of complexity to manage of, serving my people well, but also making sure I'm executing leadership strategy. It can be overwhelming. That's really interesting just thinking about that. Yeah, helping with that interface between different layers of the organization. Yeah. Yeah, and then just with collaboration, so we'll start talking about how humans get involved in this more too. Any of these agents, again, are can interact with other humans too. And so kind of the next step of this diagram you could imagine is that there are many humans surrounding this lead agent and its team, and there's many lead agents and teams of agents that are also interacting with humans. And so, like I said with that example, once it sends a statement of work into Slack, my agent's now communicating with my entire team for me. So this part actually, I wanted to draw a diagram and I haven't done it, so I'll try to talk with my hands a little bit, watch my video. But so the way I've been visualizing this when I'm talking to leaders at our customers or with our leaders at our customer companies is, you can visualize an org chart in your mind of all the humans. And now what I want everyone to start visualizing to understand how we need to prioritize building AI agents or introducing teams of agents into organizations is flipping that um, and mirroring and creating, I imagine that this are basically digital twins of everybody at the organization. And I would say that's the minimum number of agents that will exist, is as many as there are people. But in reality, it's going to be a whole nother yeah, a whole nother magnitude more, because each one of those agents will likely have a team of agents it works with. And so if you imagine we've got humans that are now doing their regular work, but also AI operators, and they're managing their personal assistants, and then their personal assistants are each managing teams of AI agents. And so it's just another way to visualize maybe even productivity gains that we'll be seeing at companies, is that those humans are literally exponentially scaling themselves with these agents that can then call more agents and work while you're sleeping, or you put them to work while you go do other stuff. Um, and that's where these prompts turn into lots of work, and we just think and pass along ideas or goals.
So what you're saying, Paul, is like an org chart then becomes duplicated necessarily. I mean, it's
Yep.
duplicated, and we're getting 2 to 3 times the impact of an org chart, right? So
Yes.
you visualize an org chart how it goes down top bottom, but now we can put it on a side and it has depth
Yeah.
to it now. That same org chart, and that depth is the agents. If that
And
makes sense.
I don't know if anyone's developed this kind of like an engagement framework or prioritization framework, but it's just been coming up in calls where now, just like we have hiring plans for different roles, um, you can follow almost the same processes for, okay, what AI agent do we need to build next? Um, and whatever analysis you go to decide if, what's the return on hiring this human. It's the same thing. What's the return on, um, letting my architects spend 4 weeks building an agent to automate them themselves. It's like, okay, it's like you're hiring someone, but then the organization has that agent forever for everybody.
I think another thing that's important to point out is that we're not talking about AI agents replacing people, right? They're aiding people.
Yes, we're
They're
operating.
all being layered with people to help them do their jobs better. That's an important takeaway as well.
Yes. And yeah, and that's a sensitive talk. And I do encourage, when we get into Q&A, y'all can ask those really hard questions. I think one way for those that are leaders on the call, or running your own businesses, um, they've been talking about just reducing hiring. So instead of reducing staff, it's just we're not going to hire as many until we wrap our head around what we can do here. And that's not necessarily a strategy for all companies, but there's certain industries like recruiting, education, sales and marketing companies, uh, and tech companies. Those are the ones that have to completely reinvent themselves, and it's worth it to spend several months starting to build agents, integrating them, been pausing hiring to focus on some of this stuff, or hiring AI engineers. Um, yeah, because it's just, again, some of these companies, just as well as the individuals can 16x themselves, the companies might be able to as well as a whole. So I did, we had it on the main invite that we'll talk about Bedrock, and I didn't want to get too technical on this call, but I want to make sure you just understand some of the more complex tools that are out there that can do more complex work. So when you or any of your engineers or consultants log into Amazon to build multi-agent workflows, this is the interface they'll see. And you can see a lot of these components we've talked about. Um, you choose your foundation models from these providers. Y'all got to see Mistral today. Um, I also have Amazon's Nova up, we can play with if we have time. Amazon has their own models now that tend to beat everybody on cost and latency. But there's Anthropic, I just want to call out for those that just want to know like what's state of the art and best. Most of our customers are using Anthropic's Claude, Opus 4, and Sonnet 4. Everything from, we had some customers that develop video games, and they're literally generating entire worlds and stories and actions for non-playable characters in the universe. And they're using um, Claude to do that. And so just if you wanted to start, with one foundation model in an enterprise use case, recommend Claude. personally,
We also have Cohere listed as well, and Cohere is a partner of ours.
yep, that's
Actually have a
good.
call with them today, in fact, Cohere. So
Yes, we've got, yeah, we're partnered with a bunch of these folks. Oh my gosh. I just grabbed my scroll bar by accident.
getting us dizzy here, Paul.
Yeah, I know, me too. I can't blame that one on AI. That was a human error. Yeah, and so, and just to kind of, show some more of all these things. This is the kind of requests and work we can start creating workflows to automate. And this is a really good one. It's just like social media content and social media marketing. Of course, we're seeing a lot more junk out there too, but you can run these for your business and you can be careful with how you build them and release them. So you're creating really high quality content as well. And I've seen great stuff with humans in the loop. And so I'm just going to highlight and then maybe pass it to you, Jeff, some of the features that people use the most, our customers leverage the most. It's that multi-agent collaboration is huge. Knowledge base is almost every single use case. We create a knowledge base, and it can be really anything that can be copy and pasted, attached to an email, stored on a computer. All of that can become knowledge. Another thing pretty much in every conversation is putting up guardrails. We've talked about a bunch of concerns and even seen some errors from AI today. And we can have an agent at the end of the process or after each step do certain types of validation or add guardrails around ethics. There's ways to reduce hallucinations and even filter out things like PII just to make sure um, sensitive data doesn't get released.
Paul, can you explain what a hallucination is?
Yeah, actually, there was a good example in the statement of work we generated where so it's writing something that doesn't make sense or is completely out of context would be an example. And this can happen in videos and images and all that kinds of content too. And so what I saw earlier was because in the meeting transcript, the pretend customer didn't describe their business workflow in detail, it filled that part of the statement of work out with my workflow for some reason. And it just found like a workflow that was in its in the knowledge base it was looking at, and the workflow was like gather requirements, write statement of work. And so it decided to put its workflow into the statement of work for some reason.
Or if anybody's ever done a text to image AI where the person generates three fingers or three eyeballs, right?
Yeah,
That's where it kind of goes off the rails a little bit, right?
you
That's
know,
hallucination.
just so you guys know what I'm talking about, you're looking at this is the drag and drop interface where you can plug in agents and say, okay, this agent sends this data to this other agent. This agent needs to use this knowledge base for this task and this particular prompt I have in my library. It can even make decisions on, which agent needs to go next or which output we need to produce. And these are getting really cool. And so this is also where business analysts can start dragging and dropping things that the AI engineers produce. So again, we're moving away from engineers needing to do a lot of work and handing it to business users. But yeah, I'll go ahead and let Jeff kick off, and this might be a good transition. I'm all about like now just go ahead and build real stuff that's valuable. When I work with folks, I can predict what's feasible. I know it's going to work. So we can go straight to a proof of concept for a real problem and then back to back get into MVP. So I encourage not to just experiment. Yes, get out there and play, but also just get this stuff moving. Some of it's just pretty straightforward, honestly, to build and then get immediate results.
With that being said, I'd like to take maybe a 30-second commercial here so you can hear something from me, right?
Yep.
One thing is that because we are an AWS partner and because we have our AI competencies and we also have a strategic collaboration agreement with them around AI, it opens up a lot of doors to funding, a lot of buckets to different funding opportunities that they provide us that we can extend to you, the customer. So with that being said, we can do a proof of concept with you that AWS pays for up to $25,000 where somebody like Paul can sit with you and explore AI, what it can do for you, and do it with your workloads, with your data, build this with you.
Mhm.
And if you feel that it makes sense and it's something that you want to actually take into production, we call it, then AWS also has production funding that we now earned, which now allows us to then build it for you at their cost. So it's a real opportunity. It's out there. I'll re-put my contact information there. But if you or anybody you know has a business that's looking to explore and looking for an opportunity to have it funded by AWS, and again, have somebody like Paul work with you, then reach out to me, let me know. We can set up a discovery call to do so.
Mm-hmm. And happy to help. I'm very good at divergent thinking and coming up with lots of use cases and then working with everybody to narrow down to what's the highest priority one that will have the best impact. I think that's one advantage we have as consultants is I get to see lots of customers. And I'll be on calls, a few calls a day, new engagements or working with others. So to see across many industries, and it helps me understand like, oh yeah, we can do that in 8 weeks kind of thing. And I feel confident in the returns.
Yeah. So we have a
I can help
question,
you navigate
hand
that.
raised.
Yeah,
Sweet.
Does
Question? No?
Hey, quick question about the offer, Jeff, that you mentioned. What do you think would be an ideal candidate company? Could you describe it a little bit more? Where are they located? Size? What
I
are
would
their
say
business?
North America. We work with a lot of SMB, small, medium-sized businesses,
Yeah.
startups, right? I would say it's probably bigger than a mom and pop, right? But I would say, it could be up to 100, low as 100 employees would be the right fit for this because there are some guardrails in place as far as the amount of spend and things like that, right? That we will have to kind of work through. But I would say a small to medium-sized business is fine.
Great. Oh, great clarification and great offer. Great.
Yeah,
How
it
have you
is. It
worked
is
with
good
anybody
stuff.
so far in that program?
Say again, please.
Have you has that from AWS been offered previously, and what are the results been so far?
We were doing probably 30 a month right now.
Yeah.
So yes,
Oh,
the
great.
proof of concepts are out there. And the production funding piece is new as of this year, right? It actually started in January. Before it was just proof of concept. And then if a customer said, yeah, we want to move forward with this, then there was a bit of sticker shock. And we tell them, okay, it's going to be $60,000 to do that. And it becomes a bit of a concern. But now AWS is helping with that production, which again helps to alleviate some of the cost behind it, which is less of an inhibitor then, right? We can move forward.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll make sure, once when we post this recording and just to recap, we'll also include that information and link y'all so people that not only watch this recording but also can see the post can learn about the opportunity because that's what stood out to me among many things in this conversation. But just, that's I think everyone, go around the world, go around the States, everyone is looking for some type of funding. And that just seems like a really amazing opportunity.
Really is. I wish I had that program available back when I was starting businesses and things. Yeah, so we do have very large enterprises do in this program as well as startups that are like one person. So Amazon's really, yeah, investing in getting folks onto Bedrock and trying out these models. And similar to that, I am very, this is just a hacky thing to keep in mind as you're all out there using AI tools. Especially these bigger companies launch, start getting into the foundation model space, for example, a lot of times really powerful stuff's free for like 6 months. And right now, you don't even have to go through anybody. You just go to the link I shared. You can play with Amazon's top models at no cost right now. I don't know how long it'll last, but they even have their premier model here.
Hmm.
So yeah, I encourage you if you wanted to, you can just go to this link and play around. Of course, they do ask you to log in, want to see what you're talking to it about, I bet. But yeah,
So
great free way to.
we have about 5 minutes left, and I would love to toss it out to the audience and or anybody, like if there are any questions, do anything spark something that aligns with your work or what you're looking into? And we have a lot of people doing different things, so I'd love to toss this over to the crowd.
Anybody?
I encourage and don't be shy about really hard problems, both like with ethics or impact. Where's the future headed? I've probably talked about them.
One thing that I was wondering about, and I put it in the chat, but was, everyone has fear, and a lot of times if you don't know, the unknown causes anxiety, but about AI taking jobs. What I'd like to think about is with these AI agents and this technology, what new jobs,
Yes.
what new jobs could be created or emerge.
And I'd like to feel with AI that I'm very grounded in this. I am, and I just want to preface, I am in general an optimist about a lot of things. I don't know if I like the term techno-optimist, but I try to still keep it grounded. So one stat that helps me feel comfortable, and I want to just say in this space, I grew up as an artist, and so my first careers I started dreaming about were being drawing, being a creative writer. And as a young adult, I was my first career was an audio engineer in music, and so most of my core friend group are artists and all that, and they feel very much under attack. Um, but one thing that gives me hope is that some of my colleagues are now becoming AI operators and multimedia content creators, where they're now artists of many more kinds of content than they have ever been before. So there's still paths for them. Another one for writers, and this is actually if you have any friends that are writers, and they're not totally against AI, they are wonderful people to pivot their careers into doing conversational interface design and designing the experience of that conversation. Because basically what writers do, have people experiencing words and stories. So there are ways to pivot into this new world from some of these jobs that are getting heavily automated. Um, and then this is one of my favorite just facts about humanity. In the year 1900, 97% of people were in agriculture and farming. Now it's basically flipped, where we've got 97% of people are doing other stuff. I don't even know how many job roles exist, tens of thousands. And so, and that was during industrialization and manufacturing coming up, a lot of types of automation back then. And now we're in the world where today, there's still so many problems left to solve. I am optimistic that there's going to be lots of jobs.
I agree. Yuka, any thoughts, anything that stood out, closing words of wisdom?
Well, wisdom, I don't know, but it was very interesting because I I was wondering how I could use AI more efficiently, because I use AI, and people think that I have two bodies. Sometimes people said, "Do you really exist?" Because I do so much. But actually, automating the workflow, creating the workflow with agents, that's the next step I want to go. Yeah, and I'm very much inspired. So thank you very much. And AWS giving out the funding that gives us hope as well. So I'm going to think about it and talk about
it is a
it.
great opportunity. And truly,
Yeah,
it is an investment funding, and this is what they
yeah.
call it internally. It's an investment because they're investing in businesses. Eventually, we help you grow.
Mhm.
You do more with them. In the long
Yeah.
run, it pays off. That's their customer obsession model, where they're
Mhm.
doing what's best for the customer, and the funding is part of
Yeah.
that.
This is really great. Thank you very much for coming and explanation. And I look forward to talking to you offline.
Thanks, Jacob. Thanks, Yuka. And thanks.
Definitely. And anybody could reach out to me on LinkedIn or email.
Yeah.
Definitely like talking about AI. So
Great.
Yeah, no, and thank you, Jeff, thank you, Paul, thank you,
Yeah.
Abahi, thank you, Global Chamber, thank you, Yuka, thank you, Barry, thank you, everyone who attended, Jim, Doug, Cesar, Tom, Thierry, Ciali. Thank you very much. This was really fun, and
Yeah.
look forward to next month.
And Tom, I
Thank
look forward
you.
to talking to you. Tom reached out to me with, so we're going to be
Mhm.
connecting offline. So thanks.
Sounds great.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jeff.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.